AJ Dybantsa looks like a star in the making, but he isn't the only small forward you need to know for the 2026 NBA draft. We'll tell you all the top names to keep an eye on next.
You are Locked On NBA Draft with no ceilings. Your daily podcast on the future stars of the NBA. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA Draft with no ceilings. My name is Tyler Metcalf. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is closer than you think, and right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets. Download the FanDuel.com app to get started. Joining me, as always, is my co-host and fellow draft analyst, Tyler Rucker. Rucker, how are we doing?
I'm doing great, Metcalf. Football is in the air, but we don't care because we're ready to talk basketball. The season's always around the corner. It's always draft season. We got around 50 days till college hoops kind of returning, almost at 50 days. It's getting here, folks. So I'm excited. How are you doing, sir?
Ecstatic. Cannot wait for college games to kick off because we get to see a lot of the guys that we're talking about today in a new setting and in a more familiar setting that tells us a little more about what their NBA career could look like than maybe their high school tape tells us. Today we're focusing on small forwards. We're going to be looking at some who could emerge into this top tier. We're going to talk about three of our favorite top returning small forwards. But we have to familiarize you all with the top incoming guys. And I know Nate Ament's not going to get talked about in depth here. We just did an episode on him last week, 2 weeks ago. So go check that out in case you missed it, along with breakdowns of our top point guards and shooting guards to watch. But this week we got AJ Dybantsa, Nikolas Avdalas. Apologies on pronunciation. I'm trying. And Nicholas Khamenia. Where do you want to start?
Well, let's start with AJ, and everyone needs to calm down a little bit. It's the off season, so we're also getting the pronunciation guides down. We're getting the reps in, folks. So, let's start with Mr. Dybantsa. What do you think?
He looks like a star. I've had concerns about the senioritis in his senior season, but at the same time, I get it. If I was 18 and just got paid a whole bunch of money, I might take it easy until I got to the stuff that really, really mattered, especially once I knew where I was going and everything was kind of locked in place. So what I've really loved about him is the evolution in his defense. I love his defense. I think there's a really fun outcome and ceiling for that side of the ball with him. And I really hope he continues to buy in on it, because then if he does, and you get everything on the offensive end as a plus, which could be really, really special too, it almost feels like we're at the point where we might be underselling how good AJ could be.
Yeah, look, he's the most hyped prospect in this class. I know everyone's kind of falling for Darren Peterson right now. It's well deserved with how good Darren's been going back to his senior year. But AJ is the hype. He is the upside. He is the talent. If everything kind of starts to fall into place early in the season, he's going to be having teams drooling from the mouth when it comes to NBA scouts. We've seen him the last couple of years in person in great settings at Nike Hoop Summit. I thought junior year when we were seeing, him going up against Cooper Flagg and all of those guys, he was the biggest standout because you're like, oh my gosh, look at all these tools. Look how impressive he is right away. With myself, I agree with you 100% about like the senioritis. We see this too many times with top prospects in high school when they're the guy and they're already going to the school. They're not stressing about that anymore. They're already committed somewhere. They could coast a little bit. It's fine. We see it all the time. We saw with Paolo Banchero. He put up great numbers, but when you watch the film, as you've mentioned in your piece on NoCeilingsNBA.com, there's guys that just, hey, all right, let me try some stuff. Let me try to get better at this part. And I think AJ is one of those names that, we've cooled a little bit on him in a weird way. He's being undervalued, as you said. And it might be taking the first couple of weeks of college basketball. It might just take the first game where we're like, oh, what were we overthinking? The tools are special, Metcalf, and I'm excited to see what he does at BYU.
And so we're covering both sides of the coin here. I do still have a lot of concerns about the shot. The upside, the optimistic view is that he takes a lot of really difficult ones and takes the volume and the sample size is really encouraging. Long run, I'm not that all concerned. I think he'll be fine as a shooter. I don't think he's going to be a lights out one, but there are some mechanical things that he needs to continue to improve on, mainly with the release point, the timing of the release, and the arc on his ball, because it's all really inconsistent right now. But when you look at the difficulty and the volume, it gets a little more concerning. Another guy who I have a lot more questions about the shot. Coming over from Greece, where we played with Peristeri last year, going to Virginia Tech this year, small forward Neoklis Avdalas. I've heard Neo as a nickname for him. I like that a lot better. Avdalas, really intriguing international wing coming over, playing college ball with Virginia Tech. Some people had him as a potential first rounder last year, didn't get the feedback he wanted, didn't want to go in the second round, decided to come over to college. Where you're at with Avdalas?
Yeah, let's call him Neo. I like that. Let's go a little Matrix run. Just Neo, the chosen one. This is the name that was buzzing a little bit with some fans last year. They were asking, we see you out there. There's always a fan base passionate on YouTube and everything that are very determined to get their guys some buzz. He was buzzed overseas, young wing with good size and some playmaking chops. Yes, we might get some arguments of like he's more of a point guard. He's probably going to be listed as a small forward, so we just calm down over there. But I think there's a lot of tools and a talent here, Metcalf, to really blossom. I think this was a guy last year that was intriguing, but I was like, hey, he's making some buzz, but I don't think it's enough noise to really cement himself as a first rounder in last year's class. When he made the decision to come overseas, play at VTech this year, I thought it was fantastic. It's another name that if you're scouting, if you're keeping track of this, you have that circled because you're like, this one could be buzzing quickly. There's some good tools. There's some intrigue, but another guy too, you're just trying to see how quickly does it come together. Not saying international play is weaker, so calm down out there for the folks, but we're always seeing these guys, like how quickly can they adjust to hoops in the US and college basketball. So I think there's a lot of potential for him to be a name that makes some noise quick. There's some good tools, but like you said, it's a little bit with the shot. It's with the shot with a lot of guys, but we want to see how is that progressing.
Yeah, and the tools with him are insanely fun. And when you're listed at 6'8", I'm going to classify you as a small forward until you prove me otherwise. But I think the main selling points with him are the defensive potential is extraordinarily high. Really fun stuff there, especially with some of the defensive playmaking stuff and how he can wreak havoc and get out and push in transition in the open court. He is so much fun getting downhill, and he ranked in the 74th percentile last year, scoring at the rim and shot 65.3% at the rim. That's awesome, especially when you combine it with his 6'8" frame. Really, really encouraging stuff. But when you look at his jump shooting numbers from last year, that's where the worries start to come in across all competitions, which accounts for about 107 field goal attempts, jump shot attempts, 30.8% overall. It's not good enough. It simply isn't. And his numbers with the Greece U20 team, obviously much smaller sample size, but 50 attempts, 34%, and that's on jumpers in the U20 competition. So hopefully it's trending up in the right direction. He has an opportunity to make a lot of buzz and generate a lot of buzz with him and prove a lot of people wrong and answer a lot of questions this year, because I'm guessing one of the big sales pitches from Virginia Tech was, hey, we're going to put the ball in your hands and you're going to be able to experiment and showcase a lot of your game. If he shoots it, I think anywhere in the mid to upper 30% on jumpers, I think that's going to be good enough.
I think so too. I think he's going to be one of these prospects we always kind of monitor and eye going into the preseason as like these could be swing guys pretty quick, where if they have a strong start, they could be names that are getting into that top 20 of like, hey, this could climb up a little bit more as the season progresses. If he struggles shooting it right out of the gate, we might be like, maybe it's going to take a while, but he's firmly on the radar. I think scouts were intrigued enough last year to be like, this is a guy we need to keep an eye on. It was just like, hey, he's probably not a this year guy, but now that he's going to VTech, I think that was brilliant decision just to come overseas and be like, okay, now let me get some more exposure. I think there's a lot of evaluators out there that are keeping an eye out. You're just kind of like, hey, let me monitor this because we see it all the time. You have a strong start to the season, then scouts start to pay close attention. They're making the trips to come see you in person, see what it's all about. And if he could keep that momentum going, he's going to be buzzing in this class. There's too many tools at that size but the shot is the $1 million thing. Can it come around on a consistent level?
And then finally, Nate Ament would be here, but we just did an episode on him the other week, so go check that out. It's not shaded him. Just gave us an opportunity to also talk about Nikolas Khamenia, freshman headed to Duke, 6'8", small forward, out of Harvard Westlake. Where are you at with Khamenia?
A little nervous, Metcalf. We saw him at an event in Portland, Nike Hoops. We always mention that was some of the top players in the country from the states and from the world. And Khamenia was one of the most impressive players I thought at that event. We talked to a couple scouts from teams there, and they're like, "This is a pro. This is a hooper right here." Then he's kind of had, I love that event because then it usually goes into FIBA. Can you keep that momentum going if you look good? I feel like he didn't look good at FIBA play. It just some guys just don't really hit the ground running there, which was strange because me and you have talked about it behind the scenes. It seemed like that was a setting he would thrive in.
And a lot of the same guys.
Yeah, and it was the same guy. So he's kind of been cooling a little bit right now. I thought this could be a guy that was climbing in that top 10 range that could make some noise because he's a smart player. He's got a good looking shot from outside. There's good size. There's good length. There's a lot of good tools that you could see kind of coming together and making a heck of a basketball player. But I want to see early on at Duke with all that firepower, can he kind of make his mark early on? We know they got Cameron Boozer as one of the potential number 1 picks, but can Khamenia make an impact efficiently and be a player that, like, he's not Con Knipple, so calm down, everyone. He's not Con Knipple, but can he have that sort of vibe with that team of being the smart player that doesn't need to score 25 a game, that he can just be efficient and leave his mark and make winning plays? What about yourself?
I was really underwhelmed by the high school tape. Like you said, Hoop Summit versus FIBA felt like night and day differences. In terms, because he was incredible at Hoop Summit, and I love the rebounding, the defensive IQ, the communication, the versatility, the shot making, the passing. I think is really, really slept on with him. Not as like a primary playmaker, but as a connective guy who keeps the ball moving. So I really like him as a connecting, complementary piece. My concerns come with, can he create his own shot? Does he have enough wiggle? Is he athletic enough? And I think in those situations where he was the guy in high school, it looked kind of rough at times. But I think with this Duke roster that's going to be loaded yet again with Cam Boozer, Isaiah Evans, Caden Boozer, Dame Sarr, Darren Harris. It's a long list. They're loaded again. Shocker. I think he's going to fit right in and just raise, maybe not the ceiling, but at least raise the floor of whatever rotation he's on the floor with. I think there's a really good, it wouldn't shock me at all if he has an awesome freshman season, shoots 42% from 3 with a couple assists, couple rebounds, and plays really good team defense. It's like, hey, I'm going to go be a one and done late in the first. It also won't shock me if he comes back as a sophomore and just has an incredible year. So very intrigued, but I also kind of get, like, on the high end, like some Shane Battier type of vibes with him, where he just kind of impacts winning when he's in the right spot. But coming up, new isn't always better. We'll tell you who some of the top returning small forwards are to watch. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure that you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Okay, Rucker, interesting wing class, especially with some of the returners. I think the top 3 that at least catch my eye the most, we'll talk about more in segment 3. But Thomas Haugh from Florida, Isaiah Evans, sophomore at Duke, Dailyn Swain transferring from Xavier to Texas. Where do you want to start with these guys?
It is a really interesting returner class when you look at some of these forwards, and we're talking specifically small forwards. Some might argue like, hey, they're a little bit of a tweener. Maybe they're more of a 4, but this is what we're doing, folks. So let's start with Thomas Haugh. Florida is going to be, if you're getting caught up on everything, I think Florida is going to be one of the top teams in the country.
Mhm.
Yes, they repeated, but they didn't just, yes, they won the title, but they didn't just win the title. They reloaded, and they are going to be a very nasty team with a lot of guys coming back and some fantastic transfers. But I think the prospect everyone's watching is Thomas Haugh, forward with skills, looked really good in the tournament run, playing again, alongside Walter Clayton. I thought he hit some big shots, and man, Metcalf, this is one that I'm getting excited about, but I don't know how high is too high because there's just a lot of ability to make winning plays with his game. What about yourself?
Yeah, and I had him as like a late first rounder last year before he withdrew. I thought he was probably the second most intriguing prospect on that team last year behind Walter Clayton. And in an NBA context, he's probably going to play more of a 4 than a 3, but he's 6'9", going to Florida. Todd Golden has said multiple times that he's planning on playing along with two of their other bigs in Hangleton and Chinyelu and Alex Condon, who we'll talk about on Thursday's episode. This dude plays so freaking hard, and he just never stops working. And if he can just shoot it at a reasonable clip, only 34% from 3 last year, but if that gets up to around 39% to go along with his free throw rate of almost 65, his offensive rebounding rate of 10.7, his true shooting percentage of 62.4, his BPM of 9.8. Now we're talking about a guy who's like, holy crap, like, is this more of a top 20 guy instead of a fringe first? But I hate that it always scales down to it. Can he shoot it? Even if he can't, I think there's a very clear outcome for him where he's a, high level contributing NBA wing forward. And a lot of that is because of the pure motor, the pure work rate, the physicality, and also how versatile and dominant he can be on the defensive end.
Yeah, I mean, look, for me personally, it's one of those I'm in wait and see with Thomas because I don't know how much of the skills can really take that next leap to. Like, I'm not going to say like, oh, this could be the first returner off the board of this
Yeah.
class because I don't know if he can climb that aggressively unless just everything takes a big leap with his game. I think this is a type of player that could have a solid step forward and maybe he's going late lottery or playoff teams in the NBA are drooling that they can potentially add him to the mix because he's got size, he's got toughness, he plays with his hair on fire. And, their run towards the national championship last year, he had a lot of big time clutch shots. Like he hit some threes, he had some great energy plays like around the basket. He just knew how to make an impact. So I think with Thomas, it's one of those, how consistently can this come forward? I think it's really interesting that they said, hey, like he's going to be playing the 3 alongside our bigs, like you hinted, because I thought of him more of like a 4 that you could probably try to space the floor with. But now it's like, hey, if he has that versatility to play both positions, it's a real big part for his draft stock. So I'm excited to see what he can do.
Well, something we know that Isaiah Evans can do is shoot the ball. And my goodness, does that dude love shooting? 6'6" wing, going back to Duke for his sophomore season. I love some of these numbers, so just bear with me for a quick second. But true shooting percentage of 62.1, very good. 18.1 3-point attempts per 100 possessions. That is insane. That's like, oh, I touched the ball, I'm shooting immediately. And that's coming with a dude who had a minute share of just 31.8%. So he wasn't on the floor all that much, but when he was out there, he was letting it fly. It was pretty efficient at it. 41.6% from 3, assist rate of 6.4, which is abysmally low. People are going to have a field day with that this year if that continues. But this dude looks kind of like a specialist, one of the better ones in the country. Incredible length. I really like the defensive potential and upside with him as well. Where are you at with Isaiah Evans?
Yeah, it's no secret that Isaiah Evans always has a green light, and he can shoot it when he wants to, and he can be efficient too. I think this is one of those names where last year heading into like the combine and stuff, I was like, hey, I think Isaiah Evans could have a sneaky chance to climb into the end of the first round here because of the size, the potential, the upside, and the shooting ability. The floor as a floor spacer. This year, I think there's just a lot of buzz of like this could be one that really makes a nice step forward in the ranks Yes, he shoots it a lot, but he's got a beautiful shot from outside.
Yeah.
It's quick, it's consistent. I want to see what else develops with the game. And I think if you've talked to me a lot about Isaiah, the last couple months, and I think the biggest thing you've said is like, hey, the defense. I agree. If he can cement himself early on as like, hey, here's 3-and-D as the floor with his potential, and then you can start to slowly add stuff to his game, maybe some on-ball juice, then you're getting really exciting. And I think if you could get a sophomore that has good size and can really shoot it from the parking lot, I think NBA teams are going to be excited about that because he seems like he's got really good skills that translate very easily to like, oh, we need a shooter, we got size, we got upside, we can work with this. Isaiah Evans is going to fit the bill.
Well, and while we're hopeful about Evans's defense, we know that Dailyn Swain can defend, and the 6'7" wing, probably going to play some 3, going to play some 4. Headed to Texas, played at Xavier the last 2 years, going to Texas for his junior year. Block rate of 2.3, steal rate of 3.2, defensive rebounding rate of 18.5, assist rate of 17.6, which is really intriguing for a guy like him. True shooting percentage of 60.4, but shot just 25% from 3 on 1.7 attempts per 100 possessions. So underwhelming percentages, really underwhelming and concerning volume. Wouldn't even look at the rim from the perimeter, but he's one of these guys where it's like, all right, just shoot a little bit or just shoot. I don't care if it necessarily even goes in, but can you just shoot a little bit to draw the defense out, to create those driving lanes where he's so good at getting to the line and getting to the rim and finishing inside and even creating for others, but he's got to do it.
I agree. I think this is one of those names you've asked around the league the last couple of years, and like scouts me, oh man, I like him, and could he just take that next step? We're waiting on the next step. So Dailyn's one of those. I'm very excited to see what he could do at Texas here because the defensive play, the analytics, he's a darling for that. If you're into that type of stuff, like you're going to get excited about it. It's just the offense. Like, can we get another step forward with the offense, specifically the shot? Because, if he can do a little bit of something on the offensive side of the ball, you've got a heck of a talent. You've got a player with good size, good versatility, and really good stuff defensively. Just got to have something offensively. I think that's preventing him from really taking a serious, leap in conversations in the draft world of maybe being a top 20 guy, even as a junior, because he's got everything you want as a defender. He's really special on that side, but I think we just need to see, can something happen offensively? It's going to be a big test at Texas this year, because I think that's why he's transferring, is to try to get some more exposure, and we'll see if he can fit that role well on the offensive side of the ball.
All right, we've covered 6 of the biggest names to know headed into this season, but next we'll cover some guys who could easily break into this top tier for the 2026 NBA draft. Okay, Rucker, we're going to just rapid fire some names here. Bit of context, obviously, but we're going to fly through a lot of these because there are a lot of guys to know here. I'll go with 2 here because I'm just going to mention one in passing because we're going to talk about him on Thursday's episode. But Caleb Wilson, if you're classifying him as a small forward, definitely in this grouping. We'll talk about him more in depth on Thursday's episode, headed to North Carolina. And then Carter Knox, going back to Arkansas for his sophomore year. I really liked how he closed out his season last year. Can he show a little more wiggle? Can the defensive consistency continue to take that step? A lot of really good signs. And then does that shot take another leap up? And if it does, I think we're talking about him as a first rounder.
Yeah, Carter's a great shout out. I really like that one. I'll give a similar one. I'm still a Darian Reed believer. He was at Alabama last year. He's transferring to go to Oklahoma this year. Talented forward that I was one of the top recruits kind of coming out of that class. I think he was a top 50, top 40 guy. I just think there's a lot of tools, and he was one last year. I was like, it's either going to come right out of the gate, he's going to look comfortable, or this might be a guy that takes a couple of years and going to be a sophomore. I think there's a lot of tools there where he could really bounce back and make some noise. And then Metcalf, I have to give him some love to Billy Richmond. Come on. I mean, our Arkansas guy, man, there is so much excitement when you talk about Billy Richmond to evaluators where it's like, hey, it's going to happen. The breakout's going to happen. It might be this year. We're hoping so because he is an exciting player. So those are two guys I'm keeping an eye on as well.
Couple more for me. I'm going to stay again. Cheat. I'm going with two. But they're both going to Creighton. Blake Harper, Jackson McAndrew. They shooting guards, small forwards, power forwards. I don't know. I want to mention them. They're really fun. McAndrew, big time specialist, listed at 6'10". Blake Harper played a little point at Howard, played shooting guard, played on ball, off ball, was incredibly skinny, but the frame looks good. 6'8", really skilled. Very excited to see what he can do in Big East competition. That Creighton team should be towards the top of everyone's watch list because they're going to be fun.
Yeah, I'll give one more shout out too. It's always fun when we're trying to go the old school positions of like small forward shooting because it's like everyone's a tweener these days. But London Jameson going to Alabama is an incoming freshman. I'm keeping an eye on 6'8". Maybe plays a little 2, maybe plays a little 3, but he could shoot it. Good looking shot. I think there's just one of these prospects I'm kind of keeping an eye on of like, hey, this could be a little bit of a sleeper that comes out of nowhere and generates some buzz.
Andrei Stojakovic made a huge leap at Cal this year or last year, headed to Illinois this year. Weirdly enough, it's like, can he shoot it though? Came out of high school as a shooter. Dad, one of the best shooters of all time. Andre, please shoot it because the way that he grew as a defender, a passer, a slasher, on-ball creator, off-ball scorer last year was really, really fun. The shot was just really inconsistent. So if that leap comes with the outside shot, one of the more intriguing upperclassmen for me.
He's gotten better each year. I thought last year he was having a bit of a heater where I was like, this could be the party crasher that's coming out of nowhere. And I think Andre's on that perfect path where like this could be the year that we're really making some conversations about Mr. Stojakovic. It's just funny though, because that Cal team, he was doing a little bit of everything. So with that Illinois team, it's going to be really interesting now that he's got a little bit more firepower around him, kind of see what he can do. And can he be consistent? Good size, and he can shoot it like his dad, but we'll see if it's efficient this year.
Last one for me, just obligatory mention. Alex Caravan headed back to UConn yet again. I think they're going to be fun. They got some good tools, obviously really experienced player, and probably more of a second rounder at this point. But again, what happened to the shot? Just some consistency from him. There's some interesting tools. He's got a lot of fans, some detractors, but I think one of the upperclassmen that we kind of just have to keep an eye on, especially if that shot really continues to be his calling card and he implements or improves in other areas of his game as well.
Completely agree. I think it's one of those years. Hey, Caravan went back. Let's see what you can really do because he needs to have a big year to kind of get that stock going in the right way, or else he's going to be a value selection potentially in the second round.
Rucker, blessed as always. In case you missed it last week, we did our breakdowns of the top point guards to watch, the top shooting guards on Thursday. We'll be covering the power forwards. But thank you for making us your first listen of the day. I'm Tyler Metcalf. He is Tyler Rucker. Thank you for listening to Locked On NBA Draft with